What happens when the map just ends? When history stops making sense and science totally hits a wall? Well, today we're going to venture into those blank spaces. We're talking about the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. It seems like a simple question, right? But the answers are anything but. Together, we're going to look at things like sunken cities and giant messages meant only for the sky. These are puzzles from our past that really challenge everything we think we know. So, we're going to dive into 5 of the most compelling enigmas out there. These are mysteries that, even now, are stubbornly unsolved and just keep leaving us with more questions than answers. We're kicking things off with 2 mysteries on a truly massive scale. One is hidden deep beneath the waves off the coast of Japan, and the other is etched right into the deserts of Peru. Okay, just picture this. You're a diver. You're exploring the waters off this remote Japanese island. You're actually looking for hammerhead sharks, but instead you stumble upon what looks for all the world like a sunken city. I mean, that's the actual incredible story of how the Yonaguni Monument was found. So here's where it gets really, really strange. The structure is estimated to be up to 12,000 years old. Now, according to mainstream history, no civilization was capable of something like this back then. And it has features that look deliberately carved. We're talking terraces, perfect 90-degree angles, even what looks like a gateway. And to top it all off, divers say their electronic equipment often just fails when they get close. And this leads us to the big debate. Is this whole thing just an unusual but completely natural rock formation shaped by ocean currents? Or is it actual proof of a lost civilization, maybe even the mythical continent of Mu that was swallowed by the sea? The evidence is so tantalizing, but the truth, well, it remains just out of reach. All right, so from the depths of the ocean, we're now traveling to the high deserts of Peru for a mystery that's literally etched into the land itself. I want you to imagine drawings so enormous they can only really be seen from the sky. The scale here is just staggering. I mean, some of these figures, like this bird, stretch for 300 meters. To put that in perspective, that's longer than 3 football fields laid end to end. It's massive. These were created around 2,000 years ago by the Nazca people, and they form hundreds of figures. You've got a spider, a monkey, a hummingbird. The way they made them was actually pretty simple. They just scraped away the reddish surface pebbles to show the darker ground underneath. But here's the real puzzle. How on earth did they create these perfectly proportioned figures without ever being able to see them from above? Mainstream theories suggest they were maybe a huge astronomical calendar or some kind of ritual pathway to appeal to the gods for water. But there's another more provocative theory, one that got really popular from the book Chariots of the Gods, that asks, could these be runways for ancient astronauts? A message meant for beings up in the sky? The Nazca left us this incredible art, but they definitely took their secrets with them. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic over to Europe now, where we've got a monument of incredible brute force and an object of just baffling intellect. One was built with impossibly heavy stones, and the other was written in an impossibly strange language. Stonehenge. Yeah, we've all seen pictures of it, right? But it's so hard to really grasp the sheer impossibility of how it was built, like 5,000 years ago. There were no trucks, no cranes, none of the modern tools we rely on. Just let that number sink in for a second. 25 tons. That's the average weight of just one of the main stones. That's like 4 big elephants, and they move dozens of them. And just think about the incredible process. So first, Neolithic builders had to quarry these massive stones over in Wales. Then they somehow transported them 240 kilometers. And finally, they shaped and put them up with such precision that the entire monument lines up perfectly with the rising sun on the summer solstice. How? Just how? So what was it all for? Was it an ancient calendar? A sacred burial ground? Maybe a place of healing? Legends even claim it was built by the wizard Merlin himself. We can come up with theories for how they did it, but the ultimate why? Well, that remains a pretty profound mystery. So, from a mystery of brute force and stone, let's turn to one of pure intellect and paper. This is the Voynich manuscript. It's known as the world's most mysterious book for one very simple reason: nobody can read it. It's been carbon dated to the early 15th century, and its 240 pages are filled with this elegant, flowing script that just doesn't match any known language. The drawings are just as baffling. Plants that don't seem to exist, weird astronomical charts, and all these strange little bathing figures. The world's best codebreakers, top linguists, even powerful AI have all tried to crack it. And every single one of them has failed. So is it a complex code? The lost language of a forgotten people? Or is it maybe the most elaborate and beautiful hoax in history? All right, for our final deep dive, we're going to turn to an object that really blurs the line between history, science, and faith. This is a mystery that, for millions of people, is the ultimate sacred relic. So the Shroud of Turin is a centuries-old linen cloth, and on it is the ghostly image of a crucified man. Now, for believers, this is no ordinary image. They believe it is the face of Jesus Christ, miraculously imprinted on his burial cloth at the very moment of his resurrection. And this is where science and faith are pretty much at a standstill. On one hand, carbon dating back in 1988 placed the cloth in the Middle Ages, which would suggest it's a brilliant forgery. On the other hand, believers argue that a fire back in the 16th century contaminated the sample and totally skewed the results. To this day, no one has been able to replicate that unique image, which leaves us with either one of history's most clever hoaxes or an object of profound, unexplainable faith. You know, the 5 mysteries we've just explored are really just the beginning. It seems like the further you look into the past, the more puzzles just start to emerge. Our history is basically a landscape of enigmas. I mean, just think about the Bermuda Triangle, where compasses go haywire and ships and planes vanish. Or consider the Great Pyramid of Giza, built with a mathematical precision that still baffles modern engineers. Or what about the legendary city of Dwarka, a kingdom from Hindu scripture whose sunken ruins might actually lie off the coast of India right now? It really is like we're reading a book with most of the pages torn out. Every single one of these mysteries feels like finding a little fragment of a lost chapter, a hint at knowledge, at entire civilizations, and at possibilities that have just vanished into time. And that really leaves us with one final thought. From sunken monuments to unreadable books, our ancestors left us this incredible trail of questions. And so, I have to ask you, what do you believe is the greatest secret that our past is still hiding?